25 drivers, 16 nationalities, 3 champions, 1 new champion. Road to Indy TV.
These drivers up front have got what it takes. Rasmus Lint looking for that first big Road to Indy victory. Kyle Kirkwood used to winning. He won 13 times last year in USF 2000. So you got a guy with lots of experience winning races, and another guy that's just ready to break that goose egg. Rasmus Lint on the inside, Kyle Kirkwood on the outside. They'll roll out of turn number 14 and bring it up to speed and get rolling. Ladies and gentlemen, we're about set to roll. As I said, here we go. They're coming onto the front straightaway. Kirkwood on the outside. Rasmus Lint, will he be the first to punch off? No. No start. Let's see if the drivers keep clean coming through. They wave that start off. Kyle Kirkwood on the outside. Got a little bit too good of a jump, I think, Greg. He was on the throttle a little early, and Rasmus knows what to do. He got off the throttle, and we're not going green.
Well, let's also talk about this, too, because, again, this group, just like the group before us, had 2 qualifying sessions this morning, so they are racing in this race based off of the first qualifying session. But there were several cars that were kind of moved around. There was one car who had a best time disallowed. That would be Stingray Robb. But you also had 4 cars that were penalized 2 spots after the qualifying session. Walk us through what happened.
Yeah, one of the things you can't do when you come across the start-finish line, or they get the checkered flag at the end of the session, you got to come back in. A lot of guys will be so focused on it, they'll come across the line, they don't see the flag, and they blow back by again. And when you blow the checkered flag, you lose your fast lap of the race. We had a couple other drivers, I believe, that got penalized for being too quick in the yellow flag area when the yellow was thrown. So you got to be smart out here. You got to be able to see the flags. And indeed, a complete restart, of course. Double file once again. Kyle Kirkwood and Rasmus Lint, the 2 drivers on the front row. And interesting, of course, that Rasmus kind of got off the throttle there because Kyle was trying to get that jump. He doesn't want to be on the outside going into 1.
Frankly, the time limit has not been a factor in the previous 2 races this afternoon. We hope it's not here, but just so folks know, we are going to have the double foul restart, but again, the clock does continue to roll from when this race was scheduled to start. So they've taken about 90 seconds to 2 minutes off of the potential race time.
Wow, we're getting the call right now that Kyle Kirkwood has been told to fall to the tail of the field for jumping the start. That's the call we're getting here in the PA booth here at IMS, that potentially Kyle Kirkwood, the number 28, who jumped the start there, they are going to send him to the back of the pack. Wow, that's an aggressive move there to curtail all these drivers trying to jump the start, and that's going to move, I believe, Daniel Frost up to the outside of the front row, either here, Philippe Dennis. Shake up for sure up front. I want to say he's still there. They're going to wave this off because Kyle Kirkwood's still in that off-pole position. They're waving it off again, another yellow, as they are trying to get aggressive right now and getting Kyle Kirkwood to the back of the pack.
And that is also big in terms of the point standings because Kirkwood comes in 3rd in the point standings on the season. Parker Thompson, 75 points, Lint 71, Kirkwood 63. Now again, it's a 14-car field, and now you see Kirkwood dropping back to the back of the pack. But again, that could be huge in terms of the point standings.
Oh, it's absolutely massive right now, considering the fact that Kirkwood was probably going to be the guy that was going to give Lint his most challenge, and now he's at the very tail of the field, so this hands Rasmus Lint such a much easier opportunity to go for the race win right now. It brings Kirkwood back, who needed a good race. He had that DNF in the opening round at the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg after getting into an incident on the opening circuit and damaging his front wing. This is massive. This is huge right now for Kyle Kirkwood's chance at grabbing a hold of the championship lead, and it looks really good for Rasmus Lint. So again, 2x2 start except for the front row. It sounds like they're going to potentially leave the outside front row spot open. So the driver who is scheduled to start in 3rd, in 4th, which would be Daniel Frost, has to stay back in his row 2 position. It'll obviously give him a straight line run once he gets on the throttle, but they're going to leave that spot open, Greg.
We did not see a speck of yellow in the first 2 races. Clearly we had more offs in the USF 2000 race with 21 cars in the track compared to 9, but had no hiccups really in the start and able to keep going from the moment we dropped the green flag in our first 2 races this afternoon. We hope to see the green flag here in this race for a first time coming up in a matter of moments.
So let's see how the mindset of Kyle Kirkwood approaches this, because you know he's got the speed to be able to get at this, but bottom line is here, Johnny Unser, the race director for this program, is not messing around at all, drops the hammer and says, this is the way it's going to be. You do not jump the start. The leader, the pole sitter is the guy that sets the pace. If you're off pole, you need to lay back a little bit, and this is definitely going to send a message through the paddock here in Indy Pro that you don't mess around if you're the off-pole starter. So drivers working their way out of turn number 13 over to 14 now for the first time without that outside front row starter. So it'll be a clean run, at least an easier run down to 1, I think, for Rasmus Lint. Doesn't have to worry about Kyle Kirkwood, but he'll still keep the car low on the racetrack, I guarantee it, as every other one of these hungry young lions ready to get at it. Field set, onto the front straightaway. Green, green, green. Let's see if they get through turn number 1 cleanly. Big long run down into turn number 1. These drivers get a lot of toe coming down to the corner. Daniel Frost going way wide to the outside. He wants to try to get a big run to the outside. Little lock up for Frost. He's going to come out in second. Contact between a couple of drivers. One goes around. 3 of them are going to have to take the escape road here. Loomis being one of them. I want to say one of the blue cars as well. Enders potentially having to go through. Watching the drivers. It's the 98, the 5, and the 6. So both Rodriguez and De La Vera having to go through, as did, I said, was it the 98 as well that had to go through? Philippe Dennis from P3. So Parker Thompson getting a gift as he moves through a couple of spots, as did, Greg, the driver who had the issue early, Kyle Kirkwood. He's going to be able to go through and gain probably 5 spots.
Yeah, Kirkwood has worked his way back up from the back of the field all the way up to currently 6th. Lint and Frost going 1 and 2. Stingray Robb currently in 3rd. Listoshkin in 4th.
Yeah, the driver I think who went around there, Greg, was Ian Rodriguez in the number 5, I believe. He was the driver that was looped around before they even turned in. Daniel Frost with an absolutely magical run to the outside. Stayed well away from all the chaos on the inside. Got a good run through. Got the car squared up nicely. And he's now putting some pressure here on Rasmus Lint.
But in a 14-car field, 5 had an issue going into turn number 1.
And Parker Thompson and Kyle Kirkwood end up 5th and 6th. Unbelievable. And Kyle Kirkwood, rather Parker Thompson, as they run, would still have the point lead despite having the lack of pace that he has. Rasmus Lint, your leader. Let's give you the essentially opening lap. We'll call it 3 laps in the books, but the opening lap at speed. Rasmus Lint, the leader. Daniel Frost in 2nd, Stingray Robb 3rd, Nikita Listoshkin in 4th, 5th is Parker Thompson, 6th is Kyle Kirkwood, 7th is Jacob Abel, 7th is Saravalli. As a number of drivers coming down pit lane, Philippe Dennis and I believe Moses De La Vera all down pit lane.
Correct.
So indeed Saravalli 8th, Jacob Loomis was able to go through the cutoff at 9th, as was Charles Finelli, who did not qualify but is racing in the number 83. He's 10th. Corey Enders having to go through as well. He ends up 11th. 2 drivers in pit lane, 1 stranded on the track and done.
Yeah, Rodriguez done for the day. He'll finish in 14th in this race.
So Rasmus Lint and Daniel Frost lining up. Here's the thing. None of the drivers in the top 4 have ever won a Road to Indy race. Parker Thompson's got a few. Kyle Kirkwood got 13 last year, so I think the guys here in the front-running quartet would love to take him. And here comes a great move further back. Kirkwood, I think, has gone already up a couple of spots. Parker Thompson's lost 1 or 2. Kirkwood, I think, going by the inside of Listoshkin to go to 3rd.
By the way, it also appears, Rob, we've got an issue with the 83 car, and that was Finelli. And Finelli did not take a time in either of the 2 qualifying sessions this morning. It appears that his day could be short-lived as well.
We'll keep an eye out for Finelli. He did not come across the line to complete lap number 4 for Charles Finelli in the number 83 out as well. Philippe Dennis in the pits, as we said. Moises De La Vera in the 6th, down to pit lane, and Rodriguez, as we know, stranded on the racetrack. Being told the 83's transponder not working. So Charles Finelli still on the racetrack potentially. I'll pick him up visually as he comes by, but potentially transponder issues for the number 83 of Charles Finelli. Still P11, if indeed he's on the racetrack. Driver on the move, though, Kyle Kirkwood in an unbelievable recovery. Guy got sent to the tail of the field for jumping the start. A massive incident in turn number 1. Shook everybody up, moved Parker Thompson up, moved Kirkwood up. And to see the action here, Kirkwood, I believe, going by Listoshkin last time down the front straightaway. He's P3. Indeed, here he comes. There's that Mazda Soul Red color. P3, Stoshkin 4th, Parker Thompson 5th, Stingray Robbins 6th. Thompson doing whatever he can to hold on. If he takes 5th position, he'll maintain the point lead still over Rasmus Lint, which I find shocking. But with the full brace of points, Greg, he was able to get at St. Petersburg, got that nice little cushion.
Looks like we did confirm the 83 car is still up and at it, heading down the front straightaway.
Farnelli, I believe, still on the lead lap as well. They've got him. They got him as 1 lap down, I believe, still on the lead lap. He was able to continue through the cutoff. 1.1 seconds now, the gap between first and second. Just 4 laps into what will be a 20-lapper. About 30 minutes still remaining in the run if we do come up against the time limit. But a 1.1 second lead for Rasmus Lint. Both those drivers into the 19s. 19.4 for Rasmus Lint, 19.9 for 119.9 for Daniel Frost, but Lint trying to stretch away, see if he can get a win.
Rob, kind of doing the math here. If they're able to keep this green, I don't think the time limit's going to come into play. But if there is another yellow, then we can be looking at a timed race for the first time this afternoon.
Yeah, most definitely. If we do get that one more yellow, because there were lap times at around 119, as we said, 120, and still 20 laps to go. So you will work your way very high into that 30-minute run. Watching lap times to see if Frost can turn up the wick at all. He has not yet. Got to within 0.2 of a second, but Lint now stretching 1.38 seconds. Had a first-time Indy Lights winner, of course, with Robert McGinnis. Braden Eves wins his 3rd in a row in USF 2000, but a potential here for Rasmus Lint to get his first career Road to Indy victory. Was not able to climb onto the top of the box last year in USF 2000, and it was a little bit harder when you're racing against Kyle Kirkwood, who was able to score 13 wins. So Rasmus, though, has come out of the box very strongly here with Juncos Racing, and you got to give him props as well. Made the move to Juncos Racing, which won the championship last year with Renus VK. Ricardo Juncos and his crew have a really good handle on this PM18 chassis and the new engine that we're running this year, or last year and this year as well. So the guys at Juncos Racing have their stuff together, and Rasmus Lint looking to try to get them another victory.
Well, to your point, he was 2nd in points last year in the USF 2000. And the fact is he didn't get a win, but he did have 5 podiums. So he kept himself towards the front of the pack during the course of most weeks.
Well, as I had told you before, one of the crazy things about it was Kyle Kirkwood really didn't dominate the action last year. He only qualified on pole 5 times. Other drivers had great speed. It was the incidents that they got themselves in so many times, either at the start or at restarts, where they just drove over each other going into the opening corner. And it was a couple of teammates actually from Pabst Racing that actually got together quite a bit, and a couple other teams got in there as well. And for Lint, he just didn't really get a lot of luck in turn number 1. Found himself getting wrecked or backwards or a drive-through. He needs to stay clean, and hopefully he learned that last year.
This is also the part where we let the viewing audience, the fans here in attendance at 16th and Georgetown, know Rasmus Lint, all of 17 years old.
Yeah. We always say, what were you doing when you were 17? I wasn't racing a car around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, that's for sure.
I remember when I was 17, I first laid eyes on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. That would be, driving, Georgetown Road, going all the way up the length of it and just being amazed at how massive this facility was. Not going at well over 100 miles an hour around the road course.
No doubt about that. And Rasmus Lint, he probably saw the Speedway about the same age as you, but just
right.
in a much different perspective.
Absolutely.
1.44 seconds now the advantage for Lint over Daniel Frost, who has a further, it was 2.8, now 2.9 seconds over Kyle Kirkwood. So Lint and Frost, of course, benefiting from not having Kirkwood in that fight, but to be honest, Greg, I think if you're Kirkwood, you got to rub your lucky rabbit's foot that somehow you were able to get back to P3 this early.
And again, let's talk about the importance of the points standing, the points chase at the end of the year. What does that mean for these drivers about potentially bumping up a level on the road to Indy ladder?
Well, again, you win this championship like guys did, like Renus VK did, and you're essentially getting a massive scholarship that allows you to go race in the Indy Lights program, which is just, it's unparalleled anywhere else in the world of motorsports. And if you win a championship, you're going to the next level fully supported. And it's huge for any of these drivers to get that opportunity.
And so that's the reason I brought it up throughout the course of the afternoon, that for fans that are here, you may only see these drivers literally the next couple of days. And that's the level you care about. But for these guys, yes, they want to win. Yes, they want to win at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. But so much is about how you've done over the entirety of the season, because it really can change your racing future.
Well, and they see the examples that have done it. Spencer Pigot's number one. This guy won 3 scholarships or 4 scholarships on his way up the ranks. You know, he won the scholarship in Indy Pro 2000 to get that ride the first year we had the new Dallara IL-15. He and Juncos then won the championship, and he found himself in the Indy 500 the next year. It's drivers that simply would not have the opportunity, they did not have the funding they need, but they get it with this scholarship, and they find themselves in opportunities they would otherwise never be able to fathom.
Back to the action on the track. The best bow on the track right now is probably the race for 4, 5, and 6. Listoshkin about 4/10 of a second faster than the current points leader in Parker Thompson. And then the winner of the Cool Name Award, as we've given out earlier, Stingray Robb, currently in 6th. There's about 7/10 of a second as that separated those 3 drivers as they came down the front straightaway on spots 4, 5, and 6.
Well, you look at this here. Stingray Robb qualified 5th. Nikita Listoshkin 9th. Parker Thompson was at the very tail of the field. Remember, he was all the way down in 13th. This is a guy that's having to pick this car up and take whatever opportunity he has from the chaos that we had in the opening corner. He's trying to see if he can't make something happen and stay in that P5 position. He could potentially get by Nikita Listoshkin, who was his teammate last year, or he's going to have to battle against Stingray Robb. That's the kind of fight that Parker Thompson's got in his hands right now, trying to hold on to see if he can maintain this point lead.
By the way, of the 14 cars that started, Rodriguez, again, was stranded on the course. De La Vara came into the pits, has not exited. Dennis is back out, but he is several laps down. Currently 11 cars on the lead lap, and the podium 3 separated by about 4 seconds in total. Then a sizable gap from Kirkwood in 3rd to Listoshkin currently in 4th.
Yeah, Stingray Robb's been able to get by Parker Thompson, so knock Parker Thompson down to the 6th spot, and by doing that, his point lead now shrinks as they run on the track to just 1 point over Rasmuth Lint. So Rasmuth with Juncos Racing, a 1.1 second advantage. It seems like they're kind of going back and forth, he and Frost. It's been like that 1.1, 1.4 for the last handful of laps. Frost in the 68, just not letting Lint run off into the sunset. At this point, he still has that thought of potentially rolling back in to grab this race win in the number 68 machine for Exclusive Autosport.
15 laps left to go in this up to 25 lap race. Again, looking at it from a timing standpoint, still 23 minutes at least left to go. As again, this will be the first of the 3 races we have seen this afternoon that could be close to pushing the time limit. Still think we will finish this one in terms of distance more so than time on the watch, if you will.
Yeah, I think we'll get this one through. We don't have a lot of close wheel-to-wheel action that could potentially bring out a yellow. But here comes this run. Stingray Robb's not done either with Nikita Listoshkin. Stingray, I think, wants to get himself into P4. A 120.1. Yeah, he was 4/10 of a second quicker this last time by, Greg, and he's got a big toe up the front straightaway. Looks to the inside in turn number 1. Nikita not going to give it up, but Stingray on the outside. So moves Stingray Robb to P4 with a great move to the inside. Listoshkin to drop back a spot. That could have got ugly, though. It didn't.
Stingray Robb, Rasmus Lint, both running for Juncos Racing. And in seemingly most races that we'll talk about this weekend here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, fans will hear mention of that team. Let's talk about the job they have done, not just building drivers to the NTT IndyCar Series, but then also taking them to that top flight as well.
Before I jump into that, I'll just say right now that Parker Thompson was able to get by Nikita Listoshkin coming down Holman Boulevard, so put Parker Thompson back to 5th. But when you talk about Ricardo Juncos, it's amazing. You got to go back to a guy who wanted to be a race car driver, came up here from Argentina, ends up with, I think, $300 in his pocket. He ended up having a kart racing team at one point. He was a mechanic. He had his own Juncos racing cart that a little kid named Spencer Pigott drove in the cadet category, and then starts getting race cars. Bought some Formula Renaults and finds himself then jumping into what was then Star Mazda. The ability that he has had to be able to expand and grow his program into the Indy Lights program, but of course first becoming that one of the juggernauts in what was then Pro Mazda, You look at the drivers that have come through: Spencer Pigot, Kyle Kaiser, Rinus VK. He's had so many good drivers come through his ranks. Zachary Clayman DeMello ran for him as well. But then I think to be able to do what they did last year and the last couple of years in the Indianapolis 500, you know, we hope that we see them get a full-time program in the near future. But to hear the confirmation that Kyle Kaiser back with them again for the 500, I think that was, for me, one of the highlights of the last couple of weeks.
As far as the action on the track, you documented it. Stingray Robb to 4th, Parker Thompson to 5th, Listoshkin to 6th. What that battle did allow to happen was Abel kind of got back into that mix as well. He is currently in 7th, but only about a second behind Listoshkin, currently in the 6th position.
We'll continue to watch the splits between those drivers. Lap times obviously very indicative of the way that the cars are handling and kind of which way the cars are going. You'll see some drivers start getting quicker, other guys going in the other direction. If you're getting quicker, you've made the right adjustments to the chassis to move forward.
By the way, Frost is back within a half a second of Lint now at the top of the speed chart.
Yeah, look at that lap time, 1:20.498. Great lap there for Daniel Frost, within a half a second. We may have ourselves a battle, and Kyle Kirkwood's not done either. He was 1.6 back, but he was over about 1.4 seconds faster than Lynn. He must have made a bit of a mistake on the racetrack, I think. Being told a penalty for the number 6 machine, a post-race penalty for De La Vera. Too many guys over the wall when they were trying to repair that car. Not much you can do with a post-race penalty, but move them from 13th to 14th. But we got ourselves a 3-driver battle up front, and I'm going to tell you right now, with 12 laps still to go, as we're only past the halfway point, Greg, I don't think Kyle Kirkwood's out of this race yet for a victory. Kirkwood is coming on strong. He was a full second faster than Daniel Frost last time by. He's only 1.6 back. When they roll back onto the front straightaway, they're going to be separated by probably less than a half a second. Again, Rasmuth Lint, though, the leader, started on the pole position. Kyle Kirkwood getting that penalty to push him back. Here they come. Kirkwood still visibly back quite a ways. It's going to be probably a second and a half. Indeed, yeah, 1.4 seconds back. All the drivers getting down into the 119s, though. 119.6, 119.8, 119.6 for the top 3 drivers. Frost to within 0.7 of a second now. Lost a little bit there, a couple tenths. Stingray Robb running in 4th. He's got a half a second on Parker Thompson, who has a little over a second on Nikita Listoshkin. Listoshkin last time by a half a second quicker than Jacob Abel as well, so he's built himself a bit of cushion. So no real drivers battling on the racetrack as we saw in USF 2000. Right now, drivers kind of settling in for the mid part of this race. 13 laps down, about 12 to go.
You reference Kirkwood and the success that he has had. How about these stats for the 2 series he competed in last year? Spent time in both the USF 2000 and the F3 Americas Championship. He started 29 races. He won 25 of those.
Yeah. Not quite the field. There was only 4 or 5 cars in the F3 program.
Don't care.
Doesn't matter. You just like it.
It's good information to point out, but again, that's ridiculous.
He was the class of that field there, and again, what he showed against those drivers was. We get a lot of kids that are 14, 15, 16 years of age. Him coming in as an 18, 19-year-old, there was that maturity and that poise that he was able to develop through his years running at the very top level of senior karting here in the U.S. This guy, represented his country at events across the world as well. And Kyle Kirkwood came in with that poise, which I think is so crucial.
And Kirkwood just ran the fastest lap of the race at 119.33. He was a half a second faster than Frost in front of him, 0.4 of a second faster in terms of Lint currently in the lead. So Kirkwood still 1.8 seconds back, as again we're getting down to 10 or so laps left to go in this first of 2 Indy Pro 2000 races this weekend.
And the thing about Kirkwood is when he gets there, he'll be very cool, very calculated. He'll plan the move. If he indeed has the pace to get by Daniel Frost, he'll be very calculated. It'll be an aggressive move and it'll be quick. He doesn't waste time. He doesn't sit behind a driver and wait, because that's the worst thing you can do. You slow up to their speed. If you have the pace to be able to run up front and get there, you chase a driver down, you attack when you arrive.
By the way, a year ago, Kirkwood in the 2 F2000 races, USF 2000 races he competed in here, a second and a first. So he knows what it's like to win at this very facility.
Cape Motorsports, who he ran with last year, a very strong team, and a big run down the straightaway for Kirkwood. He's coming very close here to Daniel Frost. They work their way down into turn number 1. So again, a big move down to 1. Not sure whether or not he was able to get the pass done. I don't believe so. I think Frost still with the position. Well, that was a huge run. He got it to within 0.3 of a second. He was 0.6 quicker than Frost, a half a second quicker than the leader. Driver to watch right now, the number 28 of Kyle Kirkwood in that Soul Red Mazda livery. Of course, the scholarship for winning the Cooper Tires USF 2000 championship last year. Number of teams that he was looking at ended up with RP Motorsports Racing, and Kirkwood trying to get by Daniel Frost. Didn't do it actually in turn 7. Top 3 drivers separated by less than a second and a half.
We'll get a good view of these drivers coming down the front straightaway here in just a matter of moments. We've got the data, the telemetry in front of us. We'll get the old-fashioned eyeball test coming up here in just a second or two.
Still probably about 5 or 6, maybe 7 car lengths as they come down the front straightaways. Kirkwood not quite there. I have to think he probably made a pretty big move for it, Greg. The reason why there's that gap right now is that he made an aggressive move, had to kind of gather it up, potentially get on the brakes. Still a half a second behind Frost. We have 8 laps remaining. 17 down, 8 to go in this 25-lap race for the drivers in the Indy Pro 2000 Championship, presented by Cooper Tires.
By the way, Rob, we did have a pass for position on the track. Loomis able to get around Saravalli. That was for 8th place. So Jacob Loomis into 8th, and Antonio Saravalli currently in 9th.
Yeah, good run for Jacob Loomis. Again, a small 1-car team pitting out of a 28-foot trailer. They've got a couple of guys working on them. They wanted to go racing. Picked up one of these PM18 chassis with the new power plant and said, we're going to go Indy Pro Racing. And they've done very, very well. Impressive run so far. P8, 121.330 last time by. And Jacob doing a good job staying out of trouble. Watching the leaders, though, this is going to be a good battle before it's all said and done, because I think Kirkwood's got the speed. He had to back it down a little bit, but as they roll to turn number 14 and across the straightaway again, Lint stretching out his gap now. Was about 0.9 last time by. He's put it on the north side of 1 second. So Lint pulling away a little bit, although all 3 drivers doing 1:19.6s last time by. Very, very evenly matched. Lint, Frost, and Kirkwood running for Junkos Racing, Exclusive Autosport, and RP Motorsport. And
again, to illustrate what the top 3 have done in comparison to those behind them, it is a 13-second gap currently from 3 to 4. So it really is a battle for spots on the podium, barring somebody doing something wrong here in these final 7 laps.
As they run on the racetrack right now, Parker Thompson would hold on to that point lead on the strength of his 2 wins at the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. Currently P5, not bad for a guy who in both qualifying sessions was 13th at the very tail of the order. Hopefully they found some speed for Parker, although right now his lap time's still almost 0.7 of a second off. That's tough. But at the same time, Rob, this is also a great test of his racing acumen. What can you do with the car when it's not in its best condition? If you're a talented driver, you run it from the back of the field to 5th. Again, you make it a points day, so he's shown he can win with some of the best equipment at St. Petersburg, but be a professional maybe when the equipment is not at its best this weekend. Here comes the battle, I think, for second spot. Big run there for Kyle Kirkwood. He'll come down the front straightaway into turn number 1 right now. He'll look to the inside. Kyle Kirkwood trying to take away the position. So Kirkwood getting aggressive here to try to grab that spot away. Sounds like he's got that position. They flip-flopped, and indeed Kyle Kirkwood has gone to second, able to get to the inside of Daniel Frost. So Kirkwood goes to second, Daniel Frost back to third, but it's still Rasmus Lint with a 1.5 second advantage. The question now, Greg, is that enough? Does Kyle Kirkwood have more speed to potentially reel in the leader, Rasmus Lint? He'll have about 5 laps with which to be able to do that. And he's going to try to rely on history, given how things went for those 2 last year when they raced each other so many times in the USF 2000 series. I'll tell you, Rasmus Lindh wants that first win, but to beat Kyle Kirkwood would make it a little bit sweeter, having had to battle him all last year. That's Corey Enders, I believe, back into pit lane. Or is that that might be De Oliveira.
Yep.
De Oliveira back into pit lane in the number 6 machine.
He had ran a few laps. He has several laps down, so he did not better his position, but did run some laps.
Number 10 of Lindh across the line. Here comes Kirkwood, and Frost not able to catch up. We'll look at lap times. 2.4 seconds. Gap between first and second. That's 2.447 between the leader Rasmus Lindh and second place runner and challenger Kyle Kirkwood.
So again, obviously Kirkwood had to spend some time dealing with getting past Frost. So he gets the position, but at the same time, it really may have cost him his opportunity to chase down the leader, as again, we now have less than 5 laps to go.
Yeah, we may find ourselves with a battle here for 8th position as well. Corey Enders, who, like Jacob Loomis, had to get some trouble getting through the opening corner. Enders back by just about a half a second, quicker by 6/10 last time by. So Corey Enders looking to try to find a way by Jacob Loomis here in the late going.
And fans, you will see these drivers again tomorrow. They've already qualified for tomorrow's race, but they will be running here one more time tomorrow at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
As they run on the racetrack right now, Parker Thompson would hold a 4-point lead on Rasmus Lindh. Daniel Frost would be third rather, with 63 points. And then Kyle Kirkwood and Stingray Robb tied with 58 as they run on the racetrack. Leader across the line. 21 laps down, 4 to go for Rasmus Lindh as he tries to win his first ever Road to Indy event.
And Rob, it's good news, bad news if you're Kirkwood. The good news is you took a 10th off the leader. The bad news is that lead is still 2.3 seconds. And again, you are down to 4 laps left to go.
Yeah, he needs like 0.6 of a second a lap, and that's not happening.
So they don't write epic stories about going from last to second, even though you know how great of a drive that was by Kirkwood. They talk about going from last to first, but given the fact that he jumped the first start and was sent all the way to the back of the field, the fact that he's able to get to second today, that's still an outstanding afternoon.
I think Kirkwood calls a little bit of luck and a little bit of pace, because obviously he needed the luck of that incident that happened in the opening corner that essentially affected 5 or 6 drivers and allowed him to come through, I believe, 6th position, 5th or 6th at the very start. He got a couple of spots as well. I think he got a little lucky on that one, but nonetheless, he has capitalized on that opportunity and now finds himself P2, 2.2 seconds back from Rasmus Lindh in the number 10 machine for Juncos Racing, who's ready to break that goose egg, having not scored a win last year in USF 2000, but doing it here, I think he'd be pretty happy to grab a win in Indy Pro.
Lead again, couple of tenths come off that lead. Kirkwood back within 2 seconds, but now down to really 3 laps left to go. And a reminder to fans here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, as Rob and I are watching all the activity taking place down the front straightaway, starting to see the stars of the NTT IndyCar Series make their way to their pit boxes, because this race about to come to its conclusion. Qualifying for tomorrow's IndyCar Grand Prix is now less than 25 minutes away.
3 laps to go, as Greg had said. Rasmus Lindh with the lead of just over 2 seconds. Trouble for Jacob Loomis in the front straightaway. Loomis in the number 9, slowing coming down the straightaway. That's allowed Corey Enders to go up to 8th. Antonio Serravalle to 9th. And Loomis, again, slow down the straightaway. He pulls off quickly and actually does the full turn. Good job for Jacob there to get off the racetrack. So we will not go full course yellow at all. He's off track. And again, we'll watch this gap between Rasmus Lindh and Kyle Kirkwood, the young Swede and the impressive American driver, going P1 and P2. Daniel Frost from Singapore, Stingray Robb from America, Payette, Idaho, and of course, Parker Thompson, the young Canadian. 1.5 seconds now, the gap with 2 laps to go. He was a half a second faster, Greg. 1.5. Kirkwood trying to reel in Rasmus Lindh. 1.5 is enough to get the tow on both of these long straightaways.
How about that, Rob, for a potential podium? Sweden, Florida, Singapore.
You like that? That's solid. I'll take it. An international field, as always, here in the road to Indy. We've been lucky to have drivers come from so many different parts of the motorsports world to join us here on this Road to Indy program.
And it's part of that path you talked about, having you win and you're in the track record.
You look at some of the mess in Europe and other parts of the world about which series you need to be in, moving your way to try to get to F1 or wherever you're trying to get to. It's a nice, straight, linear path here. It's USF 2000, Indy Pro, Indy Lights, IndyCar. And that's why, in a couple of weeks' time, when we're talking about the Indianapolis 500, we're going to be talking about how many Indy Lights, former Indy Lights drivers are in the field. And it's going to be 25 or probably 26 or 27 this year. So many drivers who spent time in Indy Lights. Leader across the line, gap shrinking up, down to now 1.2 seconds, but it's the final circuit. Kirkwood gets another 0.4 of a second.
If this were a 30-lap race, you and I might be having a completely different conversation right now.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think Kirkwood would have it, but it's not. It's 25 laps, and Lint doing a tremendous job managing the program right now. I'm sure they're giving him a number. This is where I need you to be at. Here's your gap. And he's doing everything he can right now to grab that first win. Parker Thompson, as we said, folks, for Able Motorsports, won the first 2 races. This will be the first win of the year for Juncos Racing here in Indy Pro.
Well, Kirkwood trying
That's
to
a great point.
overcome his own adversity by jumping the start. Imagine where he could be, but imagine how bad it could have been instead of finishing likely second here.
It could have been so many different things, you're right. Had he not jumped the start with the speed he has, you got to think that Kirkwood probably would have taken the victory. But instead, coming out of the final couple of corners here, folks, into turn number 13 and 14, a tremendous season as a rookie in USF 2000, but he now breaks the goose egg coming onto the front straightaway here. First time a winner on the road to Indy here in Indy Pro 2000 at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Rasmus Lint, your winner by 0.8 of a second over Kyle Kirkwood. Rasmus Lint and Juncos Racing win the opening race of this doubleheader here at the Grand Prix of Indianapolis. Kyle Kirkwood, lots to talk about. The storyline for him in this particular race as he jumps the start, gets sent to the tail of the field, gets the benefit of a wreck at the very start to find himself up in 5th. He drives to 2nd. All in all, a tremendous battle. Daniel Frost on the podium for the 2nd time this year in the 3rd spot. Stingray Robb ends up in 4th. Parker Thompson 5th. Jacob Abel around Nikita Listoshin on the final lap. In fact, they drag race to the line. they drag race to the line. The gap between 1st and 2nd. Abel over Listoshin by 0.03 of a second.
So literally a pass at the yard of bricks to end this race. Now 9 cars have seen the checkered flag, and again, a couple of these cars were several laps down at the end as well. So, and we talked about this, Parker Thompson trying to overcome a poor qualifying morning, able to defend his points lead with that 5th place finish, currently 4 points ahead of Rasmus Lint heading to tomorrow's race here in the Indy Pro 2000 series.
He's going to need to find some more speed. The bottom line is that they're just off quite a bit on speed right now. He needs to find it. They got a little bit lucky, both Parker Thompson and Jacob Abel, this particular day based on the incident in turn number 1 to start this race, but they'll take it. Anytime you can get it, you take it. Rasmus Lint, as we said, up on the big board, you can see the results. Lint with the win in the number 10, Kyle Kirkwood in the number 28, last year's USF 2000 champion, coming home 2nd. Bounces him up to a tie, I believe, right now for 4th in points. Daniel Frost, a great run for him. He currently 3rd in points. Daniel for Exclusive Autosport, another great run. Stingray Robb in that 4th spot. Parker Thompson in 5th. And Jacob Abel in 6th. That last lap pass. Nikita Listoshin puts Abel to P6. Rasmus Lint getting ready to get out of the car, and there it is. The success for this young Swedish driver. He'll be thrilled with finally getting that first win. And we always talk about that first victory and how much it changes the way you approach the remainder of the season, the remainder of your career. At least that year for sure, when you realize that you can win. It bonds you more with the team, with your engineer. you develop that level, I think, of confidence and maybe trust with your engineer as well and everybody else on your team when you've been able to find that ultimate success. And great run for Rasmus Lint, another one of the young drivers in this road to Indy that you need to keep your eye on. He is a very nice young man. There comes Ricardo Juncos in as well. Big embrace with these two guys down here on the pit lane straight away as we get set to bring these three drivers back up to the victory podium here. Rasmuth, always a big smile and a tremendous run for him. I think Katie Hargett's down there. We're hoping that Katie gets a chance to have a quick chat with Rasmus. Rasmus just wrapping things up here right now. And again, Katie Hargett with a chance to talk to the driver.
Rasmus Lint not only scores his first win, but he does it on the grounds of Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Rasmus, how special is today's win?
Yeah, it's my first win in the series, and I'm very happy to do it here in Indy. The team has done an amazing job this weekend. The car is very good. We have a bit of work to do to bring the speed up a bit, but I'm very happy. Thank you.
What did you learn today that's going to help you in race 2 tomorrow?
Yeah, just to be focused and focus forward to pull away. So we'll be focused tomorrow from P1. So yeah.
Thank you. Congratulations.